I'm Pete Samuels. I'm the CEO of Supermassive Games and the executive producer for the Dark Pictures Anthology.
Man of Medan, I figure out after watching your trailer gameplay, it's some kind of horror, but in different way horror.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot about making the choices. You know, we've all watched horror films and wished that, or encourage the characters to do different things than they do, and this gives you the opportunity as the player to do those things, or do the stupid things and get killed. So there's three ways to play. You can play as a single player on your own, single player game, single player story. Then there's a couch co-op mode, which is we call movie night for up to 5 people, where everybody takes responsibility for one or more characters, and you pass the controller and play it that way. But you know, the real gem in there is the 2-player online co-op that we call. That's two people play with a friend online. We each play different characters in different parts of the story, and the decisions that you make will affect both your story and the other player's story as well. And
each of them see another things, yeah?
Yeah, sometimes your character is in the same scene at the same time and you see the same thing. Sometimes they're in the same scene but doing different things, so you kind of got some background conversations or activity going on that your friend's doing. And sometimes they're in completely different scenes. They get split up, and you know, in some of the demos that we've showed, there's one part where one player takes two characters on a dive to explore a plane wreck on the bottom of the ocean, while the other player stays on board the ship talking with the captain, and something very different and scary happens up there.
Your game is a psychological horror, jumpscare horror?
It's quite a mix. We play with a lot of different subgenres. We try to really understand the subgenres of horror, and we kind of mix and match them together. And the other thing that we do is we take existing legends or myths and build them into the story. So there's always some basis of historical truth or long-standing myth in all of the stories that we tell. Man of Medan, there's a supernatural ghost ship element to it. There are some psychological elements to it. There's even a part that's very much what we would call home invasion subgenre of horror, where people come into your house and you know, but actually the house.
That's why I lock myself in the house when I stay at home.
Yeah. So we mix those things together in hopefully an entertaining way. This is the first game in an anthology. Whoa. We have another 4 games at various stages in development right now.
Amazing.
We have a plan for the first 8. And we really believe that when we announce the second one, which we're not quite ready to do yet, the difference in terms of the subject matter, the story, the setting will surprise people. It'll be very different to Man of Medan.
What about story?
The story of Man of Medan? Well, the story of Man of Medan is about 4 American tourists, young American tourists, that hire a boat with a local skipper out in the Pacific, and they're searching for a specific wreck that's been undiscovered so far, but they've got some information. So they're on a kind of wreck diving. They have some experience of diving, and they go out right into the middle of the ocean where there's nobody else around. They're very isolated out there, and then some terrible things start to happen.
Do you have only one ending?
There are many, many endings. And actually, you play as...
So it depends how you play, yeah?
Oh, it completely depends how you play as to what endings you get and which characters survive, because they can all survive to the end, or they can all die before the end. And any combination of them can survive or die. So there's a lot of fun in replaying it to see which characters survive second time, because you make different decisions, and can you keep them all alive, or can you get them all killed if that's what you want to do, you know? But there's many different ways to play it.
You play all the time the person that you choose from the start, or you can change?
Game changes it for you, so that the game decides who you play at what point. Something like that. That kind of thing, yeah. The next scene will come along and you play as a different character in that scene, and see it from a different perspective. It's and how you form and shape the characters and the decisions that you make plays a big part in how the story develops. Because if you take a character and decide to make him, I don't know, selfish or cowardly through the actions that you take, then later on when you're not controlling him, that's what he'll be. And he may have an opportunity to do something to save your character, but doesn't do it because of the way that you've made him, the way you've formed his personality. So there's more branching in this than anything we've ever done before by a long way. Yeah, many endings.
Man of Medan is some kind of urban legend.
There's a legend of a ship called the Man Medan, which and it's kind of loosely based around that legend. Yeah. Well, it's debatable whether that ship even existed. It's on some shipping records, not on all shipping records, and there's a lot of kind of conspiracy theories about what might have happened there. So,
how many hours we can play to finish?
So to play through the solo play takes about 4.5 hours, depending on how you play it. So all of the games in the anthology were aiming to be between 4 and 5 hours for a solo playthrough.
I'm the person who really discusses horror, and is on how much level, if we're talking about 1 to 10, this game is scary.
Well, different things scare different people, so it's really hard to say. No, I don't think it'll kill you. I hope not. Don't drink too much coffee before you play. Yeah.
I hope that sooner or later we will have another game from your anthology, because Man of Medan looks really amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you.
Okay.